Hi, my name is Chris Stefano with the Mineralogical Record, and welcome to the Mineralogical Record video podcast series here at Tucson 2025 and hosted on the Mineral Nation YouTube channel. I've got today with me someone who really doesn't need an introduction, but I guess I have to do it anyways. Rob Lavinsky, one of the top dealers in the business today, and he's going to be talking to us about some of the supplements that he's been funding with the Mineralogical Record recently.
It's an honor.
It's so great to have somebody of your stature on our podcast. So thank you for taking the time.
There was a memorial for Bob Jones yesterday, and it made me remember how far I'd come. And I shared a memory there. I was literally a nobody here in the late 90s. And someone like Bob, who was, he was like the god of mineral writing and mineral promotion and mineral publicity. He paid attention to me, listened to me, was willing to talk to me because of my passion for minerals.
Yeah.
And I guess it made me think yesterday, how far I've come, but also how far the hobby and the field has come. We're sitting here giving a broadcast on the internet, and what I'd mentioned about Bob was how he helped me stay in the show. I almost got torpedoed out of the main show. Right. Because people didn't know what this internet thing was and were worried it might kill the show. I was just thinking, if he hadn't done that,
it has revolutionized the hobby, but not in the bad way that people had imagined back then.
Yeah, and yet here's Bob Jones, who at the time, would have been 70-something.
Yeah. Not exactly somebody who you would necessarily expect to be forward-thinking, but very much was, and that's a demonstration of a truly great person.
Yeah, and so he foresaw the future, and because of that and him helping me stay in the show, I'm here and doing these books that we're going to talk about, which are an homage to other people of his generation, some of them.
Right, so that's a perfect segue to talk about why I did ask you to sit down with me for this podcast series, and that is to talk about the wonderful series of supplements that you've been funding with the Mineralogical Record. We're very grateful for the financial support that these provide, but we're also very grateful for the wonderful content that they create. What motivated you to start doing supplements like this?
It's a complicated question, actually. It seems simple, but I came up in the field. As you know, we're not that far apart in age. I might be a wee bit older. And a decade or so.
Yeah.
And, when I was a kid, I was really lucky that I stumbled into the Columbus, Ohio Rock and Mineral Society with people like Carlton Davis, Henry Fisher, John Medici, Neil Pfaff, Sandy Ludlam, lots of good people. There was a great field. Midwest, you were part of it too.
Yes, I was. And I heard many Rob Lavinsky stories before I'd even heard of Rob Lavinsky or met him.
I was given access to their library of mineralogical records and Rocks and Minerals magazines. The Pete Bancroft book, Gem and Crystal Treasures. These things changed my life. I had access to that information that a lot of people my age didn't have, and a lot of people who were older, wiser, retired or working professionals didn't have, without the internet.
Right.
Having the information literally changed my life and the trajectory of my collecting as well, obviously.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm at a point where I can give back to, when I was 13 and literally stumbled into an issue of the EMR, right? And I can actually have this opportunity to, let's say, integrate the different approaches to presenting minerals. I want there to be science. I want there to be visual enjoyment. But what I also want to give people is a context to enter our hobby and get more serious. And so one of the ways I thought of doing this is by featuring and sponsoring issues on these niches, be it location or subject matter. So it's a quick entry point to some part of our hobby.
Particularly the last two, the thumbnail supplement and then this one here dealing with pseudomorphs and Stretch Young's collection, really seem to be about acknowledging that there's more than one way to be a connoisseur of fine minerals, more than one way to collect minerals. And that's personally for me been something I've always been really interested in talking about and spreading the word about. So I've just really enjoyed working on these with you.
That's right. I get to make the changes. He has to put them in. It must be fun.
It's a constant barrage of emails. It can be exhausting, but it's so important because we both care passionately about producing high quality content that is as close to perfect as it possibly can be. And of course, it's never going to get there, and we're always going to be sad about that, but we're going to do our damnedest to get it as close as we can.
He worries about grammar more than I do. I just want the photos and captions to be right. There's got to be priorities here.
Yes, and that's how we get a good product in the end. In both cases, with these last two, the collection, they're based on collections that you purchased for the purpose of selling through your business, the Arkenstone. And so I assume at least part of the motivation here is to promote your business. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that's a very blunt question and a very fair question. I practice what I think of as business-focused altruism, let's call it. There's no reason you can't contribute to the world you love. Mm-hmm. And it could still help my business, which after all has to raise the money to fund the next supplement.
Sure, which is perfectly reasonable.
And we've got 8 in line, I think.
Yes,
so
yes.
Each one features a collection. In these cases that I'm selling, and I will tell you there's a few future projects that feature, in one case, a collection I've already sold.
Right.
And in one case coming, I think in November, a collection I may or may not.
Okay.
But yes, I've done supplements starting with the Romero book. So Romero was 08.
That sounds right.
Green Bank.
Right.
And then I did my China collection, trying to convey the educational value of my own collection in 2013.
Right.
And then there was a gap. Now I'm back with this idea that if I can combine content, really scholarly, sort of all context articles about a subject with a collection, I think they add to each other.
Sure.
So when I'm purchasing a collection, I think, well, how can I use that for education?
Okay, yeah, great.
But of course, you also want to promote it to sell. So you make a book that's a book.
Right.
And, okay, there's a sales component at the end, but it's not a sales catalog.
Right.
It's a book.
And actually, one of the things that's really cool about the way you've designed it is it works sort of like a sales catalog, so it does really help you advertise your business, the products, the specimens that you're selling, but at the same time, you've really designed it to be a permanent reference on that collection, which I love, because what you've done, these books, 100 years from now are going to be records of these important collections of our time that otherwise could easily have been forgotten.
Yeah.
Or just buried in little pieces within others' collections. And so I'm really, really happy that you're doing it from that point of view as well.
Thank you. I mean, I come from an academic background, as you know. And so in those fields, what you write, what you preserve is your legacy.
Right.
For me, this is maybe a bigger legacy than my business itself. It's the collections I build, but also the collections that I use to educate. So even my own was the China supplement in 12 or 13. China Crystalline Treasures with the MR. To me, I wasn't selling those. I want to keep all those things as long as I can. Maybe I'll be buried with one of them. But to me, I use even my own collection to educate. So this is about, I would say these people are my friends. Many of them I've known decades.
Yeah.
They want to share as well. And it's my way of giving back to the community, but also to a friend and customer who has been with me for decades. So when I'm featuring Alex Schaus's collection in the thumbnail book, or Stretch Young's in this, or Jack Halpern's coming next month, to me, it's paying homage to these people. They're not just customers, they're friends. And their stories, I mean, I feel these are worth sharing. By using one collector as the illustration, you show a personality to the collection and building it that you can't do if it's a compendium of
just great rocks from a bunch of different collections.
Pictures from the MR archives. I mean, no offense, a regular MR issue with a detailed, deep story, they're great. I read those too.
They're important in their own way. But this is something different.
Yeah, it's a different vibe when it's one person's story. And you can say, here's this normal person who maybe isn't a multi-millionaire, who over decades built a collection that matters. And the collection reflects their personality. And now we're going to use it to educate and grow that niche that made them so happy. And then organically, several books I've done. Green Bank supplement, Romero.
Right.
People came to me and said, wow, because I see the context of this quick entry point, I'm going to collect English minerals or Mexican. And
It
I've
encourages them to go that direction.
I've had people who collect cabinet-sized minerals only who look down on thumbnail collectors. No offense.
Yep.
But it's what it is.
Yeah.
They're, maybe cheaper, smaller things. And they saw the thumbnail book. And I've had people move a few cabinet minerals out of the way, which makes room for 50 thumbnails in a case, right?
I'm so glad to hear that.
I mean, we've created new thumbnail collectors. And here, I think we make pseudomorphs sexy for the first time by how we present it.
Yeah.
And why not?
I think it's important.
And if I sell them because of that, it just funds the next issue.
That's right. That's great to hear. And I'm so glad to hear that you plan to do more. I know that people really ate up these last couple, and I mean, we're getting towards the end of the Tucson show, and it always knocks my socks off when the supplements are on the table. The supplements are funded by people like Rob to be free gifts to the subscribers, but we then sell them at full cover price to non-subscribers, and it amazes me how well they do. You'd think, it's funded content, people wouldn't be super interested in buying it, but the exact opposite is true.
Good.
These supplements sell very well for us.
It's a focused theme is a hook.
Exactly.
People can sort of find a way in.
It's clear that these have considerable value to the community above and beyond their marketing value.
See, that makes me happy. What I never want to do is a sales catalog with 300 pages of here's 300 items for sale.
Yeah.
And one thing also I try to do is if I can pre-sell things or if the collector has said, my friend wants this rock. I'm sorry, specimen. I used the rock word. Old school habit.
It's okay. I do it too. More than I should.
I try and put as many people's names in these as I can.
Yeah.
And to me, it's an homage to the collectors, to their legacy, which is a good lead-in for the next book we're doing, which I know it cost you many
almost
nights
done
because it doubled in size from our projection.
There was some consternation, but it's basically done, and it is so beautiful.
Thank you. So, folks, we are honored to jointly announce the Halpern book will drop next month. This is, I mean, it's an honor. I hold the draft and I tear up looking at it. And one thing I'm really proud of is I think we have contributions with 80 or 90 different people's names on the items now. In that book.
Sounds about right.
Something like that.
There's a lot.
Yeah, it's a very personal book. And again, while I am selling some of them, at least half the things in the book are gone or Jack gifted them to people. They belong to other people. And,
right.
And I'm trying to present the overall context.
Yeah. And it does a good job of that. And so, again, to say this again, this is going to be a catalog basically of Jack Halpern's collection, one of the great collectors of our time, which you have the honor of dispersing the last of, which...
The sad honor. It's not something I ever expected, to be honest.
Yeah, but I mean, we all are temporary custodians of these things, so it was bound to happen, and I'm glad that you're going to be handling it.
Thank you. And, when I buy collections in the future, I now have the capability and the staff. And working with VMR, primarily you and Wendell, I can do some of these book projects.
And you're lucky enough to be able to afford to do it, which most of us don't have that luxury.
So let's talk about that. I think people don't really understand the value they get with a subscription to the Mineralogical record. I'm just going to give a sales pitch for him here. I don't know if that's the point of this interview, but it doesn't matter. This is important. People do not understand. When you subscribe to the Min record, you basically get, here's your tier 1 Min record, but here's your bonus tier, whatever supplements are generated over the next year.
Yeah.
I have a project list of 10 of them in the next few years. Other people produce other supplements. So every year you're getting 400, 500, 600 pages of free content that just shows up and you did not pay for it because it's subsidized by those of us who make a contribution to create this supplement. It is not paid for out of their normal funds.
Right. So make sure your subscription is current because Rob's doing more of these books, and you're going to want to get them, and they're much more expensive to buy after the fact.
They are. So interestingly enough, another thing we're trying, we all want to promote our passion, or
Yes.
I don't want to say the word hobby, it sounds too diminutive, and make this bigger field and share it. So we're doing an experiment with the Halpern book.
Mm-hmm.
We're printing 1,000 extra copies to put on Amazon to see if it goes to people who
See if we can
might
reach
not know.
some additional individuals who don't otherwise know. That's wonderful.
Correct. And I'm even thinking of translating it to Chinese because the Halpern book is such a compelling story and releasing it there.
Yeah.
But these are projects that none of us thought to do in the past. But now we might be literally co-promoting books on Amazon and the Min Record.
Yeah.
And as a subscriber, you get it for free.
Right. So, yeah, boy, Rob, you couldn't possibly have given a better sales pitch.
For you.
For me. I can say it all I want, but it really means something coming from somebody outside of the publication.
Again, to the question of why do I do this, sometimes I ask when I'm up at 2 a.m. emailing Chris and Wendell with caption corrections. I do want my legacy too.
Yeah.
But I grew up in this field hearing anecdotal stories and knowing not enough is preserved.
Yeah.
And you really hit it. I feel once these ideas for a supplement, they're in my head, that not doing them, if I can fund it, is a betrayal. That to your point, that if I don't do it, it will not be preserved.
Correct.
And I really take great pride in doing that. By doing the supplement, I'm giving it as a gift to the Min Record subscribers. So again, to people who may not know their business model, they make a little money off me doing this, but it also costs a lot of their time.
Quite a lot.
And then you get it for free. What do I get out of it? I get distribution to every subscriber of the Mineralogical Record. So my choice is I can publish this book myself. I can print them myself, probably in Hong Kong, ship it over.
Charge probably cheaper.
Yeah, probably cheaper, charge double the price, and I might sell 10% of the copies. So this is interesting, right? I've thought about it.
Yeah.
Should I be trying to do these books to make money?
Yeah.
I generate all this content.
Right.
I can sell them to 10% of the people and maybe make money.
Right.
But by working with the Mineralogical Record, it goes to thousands of people.
You get much more impact.
Distribution, preservation.
Yeah.
So if that's the reason I'm doing it, I feel I'm sort of obligated to do it through you.
Yeah.
It releases it to more people and the information gets saved.
Yeah. And from a marketing point of view, you have access to the entire subscribership. So you're getting that benefit as well.
Also true.
But yeah, we're super glad you do it, and we're happy to keep doing them for you as long as you want to do them.
Thank you. Well, I've got a 10-year plan. And, if I may, can
Please.
I read something from here? And I now have to take my glasses off to do so. So the reason I want to read this is because I sometimes get frazzled and don't say things as eloquently as I wish I did. But in this case, Wendell Wilson wordsmithed my comments. So thank you to Wendell. And I really like this last bit we wrote. In the Pseudomorph book, it carries on from the thumbnail book. Buying Alex Schaus's thumbnail collection is what really, that's when it hit me on the head and said, we can do books like this not just about locations, but about whole subjects.
Yeah.
So I like how Wendell wordsmithed my bad grammar. I hope that readers will enjoy this new entry in a series of supplements that I'm producing with the Mineralogical Record. They're aimed at giving respect to some niche segments of the mineral collecting world that are sometimes overlooked in the drive for glorious, let's call them mainstream specimens. The challenge of pursuing these specialized kinds of treasures makes them all the more fascinating and inspires fresh interest in our own specimens, representing the less traveled territories of the mineral world. Obviously, that eloquence comes from Wendell at the end. It is a great pleasure to offer this book and the others I'm doing that are really developed around the lifelong projects of several of my own friends and mentors. And I'm just bringing them to light.
Fantabulous. Last thing, I guess, maybe. So with some of these more recent supplements, you're handling these collections, you're selling them. Obviously, you're trying to make money, so you're not keeping most of your favorite pieces within these collections.
Where's this going?
But-
This is dangerous territory.
But you probably do have favorites,
I do.
and I'm just wondering, within the Schaus supplement and the Pseudomorph supplement and the Halpern supplement, what are some of your favorite specimens? What should we show readers to tease them to subscribe and to pick these books up if they've missed them?
So one of the things that I'm trying to do in my supplements is different than the normal MR. Most MR issues have beautiful specimens. Most dealer ads of my colleagues have beautiful specimens.
Yes.
What do they not have is the story that goes with that specimen. People don't do that. I don't understand why. If someone's making an advertisement as a dealer or a collector and there's a specimen they love, why not tell a little story, what it means? So my favorite, you can tell when you look in the books what my favorite pieces are because there's a
It gets very verbose.
Yeah. And, I will admit I generally like stories with specimens I've handled multiple times
Sure.
that end up with friends. I like stories where there's a specimen that could have gone to someone far wealthier, but they ended up with someone maybe not of the most wealth who treasured it in their collection. So when you look in these books, generally the one with the most stories. So I can tell you with this one, literally the one that most irritated your boss,
Okay.
our senior editor,
Yes.
our, with respect, Wendell Wilson, is this. He wanted to not have the original specimen. This is found in 1929. Charlie Key brought it to Marshall Sussman. I remember going over to Marshall's house for dinner, and none of us wanted to lift it up. And it just sat there on the floor, and we're looking at it.
Yeah. How much did it weigh?
A lot. 100 plus. It was like, what do you do with this? And I started putting pieces of tape on it.
That was you?
That was me. And that's from a Polaroid we took.
Nice.
And I'm so proud. Here's the story, right? I know where all the trims ended up. And one of the trims ended up turning into a miniature and a small cab. That one and another. And I know where they are. And everyone who has one values them.
Yeah.
And so Wendell said, but it's featuring the Stretch Young collection. Why don't you just do that one? I don't know if you can say that one piece. Yeah, but the story is all of it.
Right. And the whole story in some ways enhances the value of the one piece.
Yes. So I love this. If I had my way, this would have spread on 3 pages. But Wendell says it's a better design to show it all in 2 facing.
Well, it makes it easier for somebody
does.
to take the whole thing in.
Yes.
So I might even agree with him on that.
I will agree in the end. But I wanted to show that story. And some of these I've handled twice.
Yep.
And they're all with people I respect. And that's how you can tell which one I like the most in one of my supplements. It's not going to be the most expensive.
Of course not.
Invariably. And so to your other question, what do I keep from these? I keep the books. I love the legacy of the books. I do collect Chinese specimens, as you know, and in the upcoming supplement to the Halpern collection, there's a Chinese piece I'm keeping.
Okay.
I have to sell most of these things to finance a real business.
I understand. Yeah, it's having been a dealer as a student in a previous life, I get it, and you sometimes find yourself selling things you really wish you could keep. That's the.
And I will admit to you now, not many people know this. I'm a weak person. Doing the thumbnail supplement with you just cemented me as a secret thumbnail collector, and I kept a number of the Schaus Chinese thumbnails there.
So it's not a secret anymore.
Yeah. So
Rob's gone over to the dark side.
Down the rabbit hole. So I now have a quiet collection of Chinese thumbnails, cemented as a result of spending so much time thinking about thumbnail collecting.
Oh man, this I gotta see sometime.
Yeah, they're in boxes.
Next time I come to Dallas, you gotta show me this.
The problem is when you're out in China and you're going around and exhausted. Yeah. I'm going around all day in these cities. You buy a thumbnail and you want to put it in your pocket because you don't want to lose it in the shipment.
Yep.
But every now and then I forget something in my pocket, and there's 2 that got away. I know those damn thumbnails. If they ever turn up on the market, I'm buying them from someone else, but they're probably in a hotel wastebasket. So I have learned. So when I buy thumbnails now, when I'm in China, all thumbnails go in a nice big box. Nothing goes in my pocket.
That's smart. Yeah. I've got a little cigar box that I kind of put them in as I accumulate them when I'm traveling.
But to your point, I'm I'm very proud of the legacy this will leave. If I'm successful working with you guys, I have a list of 8 supplements I want to do still.
Wonderful.
Then I will feel honestly fulfilled.
I'm so glad to hear that.
And so to educate Min-Record subscribers as a last comment, you're talking hundreds of hours from both of us on all sides to do this.
Oh yeah,
These come difficult.
hundreds of hours.
So welcome to the EMR and your future of designing more books,
Yes.
hopefully with me.
I'd love to. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening.